Welcome back to Maximum News, Gaming News. We have a lot oh my god, we got a lot of stuff that we got to talk about today, so we're just going to jump right into it. I'm Max at Syb, yada yada yada. Syb, it finally happened. It finally happened. I've been waiting it feels like in a lifetime for this news to drop. We've all been expecting it, but we never knew when it was going to happen, but it finally happened. Nintendo is making a Pokemon MMO. I've been waiting my entire life for this. Like, the only thing I probably could imagine myself anticipating more is Half-Life 3. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, no, that wouldn't require Nintendo to give people what they want and innovate and stuff like that. No, of course, I'm talking about the fact that Nintendo and the Pokemon Company are suing the developers behind Palworld, that being Pocket Pair. So, Syb, we had expected something like this to happen since January.
A lot of us did, yeah, but this has gone in a really bizarre direction and definitely not a good one.
Right.
In the slightest. I have never to this day wished ill on Nintendo. But Nintendo officially can go
yeah. Well, wait, come on.
Aggressive.
Hold on. What about when they were going after all the YouTubers like 6 or 7 years ago whenever they posted Nintendo gameplay?
Like, I understand that. In the sense of look, okay, it's yours, it's your IP. If you hate free money, because that's what it was, free publicity, free advertising, free everything. If you really wanted to close yourself off from the most brilliant minds in the marketing universe, which is what social media is. If you're in the top 1%, you are one of the most brilliant advertisers in history. You may not be directly, you may have talents in art, music, and other things, and you may have lucked out a fair bit. But no, if you've been doing this for more than a few years, and you're in the top 1%, you could do better than most people that actually, go to university and then work at an advertising firm for the rest of their life. Mm-hmm. You're probably better at advertising than most of those people. But that's what they wanted, and I hated it. I disliked it. Ash and I were really frustrated by it. But at the end of the day, they want to do their thing. That's fine. But now they've crossed the line because they've stepped over this line, and this line isn't about the art. This isn't about the art.
No.
The court case is not about the art.
It's about stupid legal precedent, something that the gaming industry has been dealing with for the last 20 to 25 years, and it is something that really needs to be nipped in the bud, because if this goes in Nintendo's favor, it's going to be chaos.
They are literally trying to claim ownership over the one thing that you cannot claim ownership of, and that is gameplay. They are saying that because you take an object and you throw that object at a target, that's their system.
Right.
Also, pausing a game and then having it come back and having a notification asking whether you want to continue playing the game, and you hit yes, and then the game, goes back from being paused to not. Mm-hmm. They're claiming that as well. This is horrifying.
Yeah. It's very horrifying, and it sets a terrible precedent. So in case people don't know exactly what's going on, let me lay it out for you, all right? So, Palworld, game that came out back in January. A lot of comparisons were made to Pokemon with the game. I mean, basically the whole meme going around online was that Palworld was basically Pokemon with guns, because the Pokemon, their designs, they do share a sort of art direction and design that is very similar to that of Pokemon's, but with enough differences in order to be able to try and avoid any legal prosecution. Thing is, though,
I believe what you meant is that they share general similarities to a game called Dragon Quest.
Right, exactly. But that's the thing, right?
Which came first, and then came Nintendo, and then came
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, despite that, you're right. So, in case people don't know, there was a controversy back when Pokemon came out that a lot of the monsters in Pokemon look like the monsters in Dragon Quest, and some of them do. But there was enough distinction there that nothing really came of it. Despite that, a lot of people were expecting that if Nintendo and the Pokemon Company were going to sue Pocket Pair over anything, it was going to be on the similarity of some of their monsters. Because let's face it, if we're being intellectually honest, even though the vast majority of them do, I think, look distinct enough, there are one or two here or there that do clearly look like certain Pokemon. Like there's one that looks like Lucario, another one that looks, I can't remember what the name of
There's the wolf one. There's a couple others.
Yeah. So yeah, basically. But here's the thing: they're not being sued for copyright infringement. They're not being sued for the similarity of the monsters, even though that's what a lot of people were expecting. What they are suing for, as Syb alluded to a moment ago, is patent infringement. Now here's the thing. We don't know exactly what they are suing Pocket Pair for. Hell, even Pocket Pair doesn't even know what Nintendo is suing them for. But there has been speculation online as to what that sort of thing might be, and sort of the common consensus around what it might be at the moment is the idea of throwing balls that capture monsters. That is where it's very concerning, because it's like you need a convenient way in a video game to be able to capture wild animals, if that's something that you want to be able to do in your game, and it can't be monopolized by Nintendo. Now, here's the problem, though, Syb. Just one last thing about this. You know, there's one aspect of that I can see Nintendo having a case, even though I totally am against all this. Obviously, I'm against Nintendo in regards to this. The part where they have a legal case is in the specificity in the way that you capture a monster. It's not in the fact that you're throwing a ball at a monster and capturing it. It's you throw the ball, you capture it, and then there's like the ball shakes 3 times until it basically calms down and it says, yeah, you captured me. The specificity of that might be where Nintendo seems to think that they have a case. And apparently they think they have enough of a case there that they're going to sue. And here's why Syb and I are very concerned. You know, where did I read this interview? Oh yeah, I read an interview with a Japanese industry analyst, a guy named Serkan Toto. He spoke to Games Radar about this whole situation. He thinks it's very highly likely that Nintendo's going to win, because given their track record of them suing people and succeeding, plus how long it took for them to respond to this whole situation in the first place, it means they were building their case. If they feel like, okay, we're going to sue, it means they feel very, very, very confident that they're going to win. This sucks, Syb. I know I've talked a lot. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, this is highly dangerous, and everybody should be hoping that they lose. Everybody should be going out of their way as much as they can to make sure that they lose, because this is stepping in a direction that's not good.
I mean, we've already been progressively stepping in this, but I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and it's just there's so many problems to this, because when you set a trend, or when you set a genre, it's like you can't just lay claim to that. Like Alfred Hitchcock did not lay claim to horror movies. And if he had, we would have a dead industry of like, we would never have had any of the great horror movies that we have. And that's wrong. That's like, it's wrong on an art level. It's wrong on a freedom of expression level. There are some things that you just don't cross, and this is definitely one of them. This is very, 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 very foolish for Nintendo to do.
It's so petty.
And it really is very petty. But it's also just flat out ridiculously stupid. Like, I'm super serious. This is one of the stupidest things that they could do, because this is going to turn basically an entire industry against them. And the idea of like, okay, well, throwing a trap to catch, a monster or an animal or something like that. Well, I mean, first of all, humans have been doing that for thousands of years, right? Mm-hmm. There's a large industry of lobster catching that might have something to say about this. The Ghostbusters might have something to say about this, and then let us also not forget the alpha predators that hunt the quantum singularity. They will also, because they use the same process of throwing. Oh wait, sorry, we haven't discovered that yet. Sorry, never mind. But just the general thing is that This is not good. This is setting a very bad precedent. And Nintendo, you guys ripped off of, I mean, just on a quantity level, Nintendo has ripped off a lot over the history.
Oh, sure.
And nobody has ever given them crap for it. It was never a bad thing that they said, "Hey, here's an improvement to the monsters in Dragon Quest in a cute, modern day scenario where monsters roam the streets and you can catch them and battle them." It's like, that's a great thing. That's a good thing. It's, yeah, sure. They Palworld probably flew a little close to the sun, and you know what I think this is more than the actual, like, they're upset about this. I honestly believe that, and Bellular and a couple other people talking about this today really skimmed the rim on this one. I think that they are afraid that Palworld will come out with its next game, its next iteration, and it will be it will connect with a bigger audience than this game,
Mm.
and they will become a much larger threat at some point down the road. And they don't want that.
Right.
In fact, they're absolutely petrified of the idea of Palworld becoming the sort of like the adult or the grown up version of Pokemon, and everybody just transitioning over to that, and then it wouldn't be that hard to make a kids version of it, and then all of the parents and the adults out there that are playing this suddenly hand it off to the next generation. And then they lose, and then Pokemon is relegated to the Digimon universe, or whatever thing that's kind of similar to this
Yeah.
isn't as popular now. Yeah. Which, if you're a big fan of Digimon, apologies. I know almost nothing about it.
Yeah. No, it's not as big as Pokemon. There's a sizable Digimon fan base to this day, but it's nowhere near what Pokemon is at the moment. Yeah, it's very concerning, and it's something that we've been seeing companies do for a long time. Obviously, the most famous example is probably the Nemesis system, which Warner Brothers patented and then did nothing with. The one that really irks me the most, though, is also an example from Nintendo. When the game Eternal Darkness came out, they patented the sanity system, which is one of the coolest things in the history of gaming, and we haven't seen it since that game because of Nintendo. There has to be some sort of legal precedent that is set where we can, I don't know, we can retroactively negate those laws, because they're just, it's not good for creativity, it's not good for innovation, and it's something that the industry needs to survive.
Yeah.
Like,
and this is where they get a warning. It's warning, Nintendo. If you're dumb enough to think that you can sit on a mountain of
well, here's the thing though, Syb. People are going to keep buying Pokemon no matter what happens here.
Well, I don't think so, because we can take a lot of the stuff from EA and a lot of the stuff from other big companies in the past. It's like, no king rules forever. In fact, I should write a story about a king who gets assassinated by his son, and then he's then his son gets killed by a big group of adventurers, and then as he's dying, then the ghost appears of his father and goes, no king rules forever, my son.
Well, true, but
That's
still,
that's a WoW reference.
okay,
yeah,
I gotcha. Okay, my
it's
bad.
generally speaking, like, nobody rules forever. And I did write this in my book.
Okay.
And it goes, everybody, if you're the king, everybody's going to try to assassinate you anyways. But one thing you can be sure of, every weapon you use will eventually be used against you.
Yeah, it's just, you're right, Cy, but here's the thing. It's a matter of what the span of time is going to be. Because Pokemon is still, like, what, the second or third most lucrative game franchise of all time, even to this day, despite all the crap that they've been putting out recently. Mm-hmm. That's still going to continue for at least another 10 years in my personal, rough estimation. So, guys, if you want that, if you're worried like I am that Nintendo and the Pokemon Company are going to win, and we're going to go back to, a complete lack of innovation with the Pokemon games, we need to start organizing. We need to start, pushing back against this and trying to force Nintendo to innovate, and also trying to encourage other AA developers to come in and try to create something to fill that vacuum. Otherwise, it's just the king is going to rule, as Sybe says, a whole lot longer. So we're going to keep our eyes on this. I guarantee you, Sybe, like, I haven't bought any Pokemon games in the last 20 years. I've sort of personally been waiting for the MMO to come out, but I can guarantee if Nintendo wins this, I will never buy that hypothetical MMO, nor any Pokemon game ever again until the day I die.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we got a lot of other stuff that we got to move on to, guys. Sorry, we spent a lot of that. Yeah, we have like 6 other stories. So, next one on the docket. We're talking about Concord again. Just again. It's just like, Sybe, there's a new story every few days regarding this game, which just makes everything somehow even worse than it was the past few days. So get this.
Yep.
Last Stand Media, great guys over there. They, like, we haven't talked much, but they're aware of, who I am. I'm aware of who they are. You got Colin Moriarty, Chris Raygun, Dustin, Gene from the Washington Post sometimes shows up. They're all really, really good guys. A couple days ago, they did a show where Colin Moriarty revealed that his sources have told him what Sony has lost on the project. Now, by my estimation, prior to this, I would have assumed it was somewhere like between $100 and $150 million, just given the nature of how much money tends to go into live service games and the fact that the game has been developed over an 8-year period.
Right, and didn't I say at the time I thought it was a double that?
Did you? Are you serious?
When we talked about it, I said I'm pretty sure it's double that.
I think you. Yeah, you did say that. I seem to recall that. Yeah, guys, this thing cost $400 million to create. How? Okay, so here's what Colin said. Apparently, the game was in horrible shape up until about 18 months before its release. It came out at the end of August last month. Gosh, time's going by so fast. At that period of time, 18 months before release, there were apparently no plans for monetization for the game, despite the fact that it was being built as a live service. Okay. No onboarding plans, no content beyond, just the core gameplay. And so what they did over the last couple of years was they spent the budget that had already been allocated to it, which was about $200 million. So what they did was they doubled the budget. They threw another $200 million at this thing to outsource it to other studios so that it could be finished within that 18-month period. So $400 million. And yeah, that is already like just bad financial planning on the surface of it. Spending more money on this sucker than The Last of Us Part 2, than Spider-Man 2 on this crap? And you want to know? Well, no, it actually does make sense. Why, Sybe? Because internally, according to Colin, the people over at PlayStation considered this game the future of the brand, of the PlayStation brand.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And
this industry is a
fucking
skill. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I got it. Sorry, I just swore. I gotta edit that out. Sorry, you go ahead.
So yeah, this is something that I heard too, is that this was supposed to be the biggest brand that Sony had ever launched. It was all their baby. This was absolutely huge. I talked about it a week or two ago when we were talking about the fact that they had this deal with Amazon to do the show, and that there's whole episodes of this, and that their costs are way higher than just what they put into the game. They booked new actors. They booked a whole, they booked writers and actors for the show. They booked a whole bunch of stuff. There's a whole bunch of controllers and physical merch that was supposed to go out. And you're asking why? Like, who was going to buy this? This has negatively affected them massively, because this was supposed to tie into the launch of the new PlayStation Pro.
Yeah.
This was supposed to launch them. And I think what we're looking at, if not if they didn't almost just commit suicide, they came really, really close.
Yeah.
And what it is that, and this goes all the way back to what happened to Atari when the first big video game crash happened. And And that is that they thought that Concord was going to bring in 100 million new people to Sony. 100 million new people who don't play video games normally, who aren't interested in the thing. They were going to pull them in. You're going to have all these people who are interested in that kind of worldview that typically don't buy video games, apparently don't buy movie tickets either. But now they were going to come out. They were going to come out of the woodwork. They were going to come out of everything. They were going to show up and suddenly buy a brand new PlayStation and Concord, and they were going to play those two things like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much everybody with a brain could have told them that's the most ridiculous, stupid thing ever, and you're gearing yourself up to have a crash like Atari did. What was it, like 45, 50 years ago? Like, geez, Louise, the stupidity, the absolute sheer stupidity. Going, oh yeah, we're about to break in to this mystical group of people who have never showed up for anything with a price tag on it before. It's so shocking. And you can now see why the previous guy in charge, why he retired.
Yeah.
I honestly think that he looked at this. He said he was probably in a meeting. He probably saw the promo. He probably saw all these people talking, and then he's like, right, okay, everybody's gonna laugh and say this is the dumbest thing they've ever heard. Right. And he looks at the board, and they're all clapping like seals, right? Like just or.
Well,
this is the greatest thing they've ever heard.
It's funny you mentioned that. Just sorry to interrupt you, but this is important. One last thing that Colin said on the show was that apparently there were a lot of people that were working on Concord, the developers and the publishers, that were looking at the game, and they could smell like what was coming. They knew that people weren't going to be hyped up about this for whatever reason, be it the art direction or the way they're approaching monetization or anything like that, like the core gameplay. They weren't allowed to speak up about it because that's it, like we said, the people within PlayStation that were positive about it, they were saying this is the future of PlayStation. If you're going to speak up against it, you can go find yourself another job. Right?
Toxic positivity is the term that was thrown around a couple times. And this isn't the first time I've heard of this. This isn't even the first time other industry people, Baldur, Asmongold, both of these people, again, remember both of these people, and somebody asked me, it was like, why do you always talk about Asmongold? It's like, well, he owns a publishing company.
And a lot of people watch him. He's a very prominent personality.
Exactly. Like, a lot of people watch him, but on top of that, he owns and runs a game publishing company. He's directing several games that are coming out. Like, this guy is in the industry. He may not be right, just like the idiots running Sony right now. They're not right, but they're in the industry, and they're seeing things. And we take what they say and we can examine it under logic and go, where did you think these 100 million people were going to show up and buy this stupid game? Like, did you honestly think that this? It boggles my mind, because it's like, I've been seeing this for a while. I've been seeing this for the past 8 years. Like, oh yeah, this crowd. There's a crowd of people who are on Twitter and are very vocal on Twitter. And one person will make a post, and 100,000 people will come by like seals, clapping and cheering. They're all actual people. They're all going to show up at some point. Well, the first time we caught somebody, that had a spoof army of 1,000 people following them, and it was just them, and they're just lauding themselves. The first time we saw that happen. And then there was another time that there was like, hey, we're going to track all these accounts, and then people lost their mind. It's like, yeah. That was when me and a bunch of other people kind of went, oh, they're not real. Oh, they're not real. This isn't real. And I mean, it really is kind of shocking when you look at it. It's like, oh, we got lots of negative press. It's like, oh, really? Yeah, we got lots of letters. How many letters did you get? 3. 3 letters. Yeah, and like HR is losing their minds right now. It's like 3 people were upset.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are those
Somebody,
people our
okay.
customers?
Yeah. Some people, okay. This needs to be a sign that is posted on the door, the entryway of every single marketing department of every single major corporation on the planet. Twitter is not real life. Put it in Latin if you need it, if you want to be poetic. I don't care. Just put it above the thing. Okay. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
aside from ET, like you said before, this is going to go down in history, in gaming history, as the biggest F up in the ever in the medium. And it's so depressing because it's just like, it just exposes how little understanding, how out of touch the executives of these major gaming corporations are, that they don't know what the hell they're doing. And you know, if Sony doubles down on their plan to, you know, try to work on 5 other live services, that's going to lead to some sort of video game crash. Because, you know, them combined with 1 or 2 other idiots that are going to continue to do it, that just don't understand that we don't want this crap. We want single player experiences with, you know, multiplayer features. Generally speaking, obviously there's an exception here or there if you have a good idea, but that's what we want. But given how, like, just this whole situation, it's very, very depressing. And we're not done talking about the depressing crap. So, Sybe, moving on from that, we're almost half an hour into this and we still have a whole bunch of other crap. But, guys, it's a huge news week and we do have to talk about all this stuff because it's important. I'm sorry about the negativity. But anyway, EA. Oh, God. To the worst company in gaming. What are they doing now?
So this isn't a bad story, or at least I don't think it is.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
That's surprising.
and I think they kind of stumbled into it. It's like you know the guy or the roommate who just refuses to clean the room or the house or do any of his chores.
Oh, yeah.
And he's so lazy that he goes to university, gets a degree in robotics, and creates a robot to do all the cleanup for him. He's still a garbage human being in the sense that he doesn't care and he refuses to like participate in social stuff. But he did invent the robot that cleans the room. This is basically, I think, what EA has done. EA is so lazy and so stupid and so poor at creating new video games that what they did is they created an AI that you tell the AI, hey, I want to play a game like this, and the AI creates that version, that game, and goes, here you go. So horrifying that this is EA, but if anybody's laziness and absolute sheer arrogance was going to lead to them inventing something for them to just profit off of, it would be EA. And this does look interesting. I think that games will eventually move, and most media will eventually move towards the idea of the Star Trek universe. You walk into the holodeck and you say, hello, computer. I would like to play a game based off of Sherlock Holmes's adventures from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and I would like throw a couple twists in, let me play as Sherlock, and my friend here will play as Watson, and we'll just have fun. And the computer will generate that game, and you'll just jump in. I think that's where we're headed. It's not to say that we're not going to have greats. There were lots of people who actually created and wrote games, and I think that's always going to be there. But we are moving towards this. It's a matter of how fast, and then how effective, and then how that'll change the thing. It's a little scary, it's a little exciting, it's a little worrisome, it's a little anticipating, because it potentially can do a lot of good. It could potentially root out and destroy essentially the giant like gatekeepers of the industry.
Yeah.
It could result in a cyberpunk utopia as far as video games come, where you're only allowed to play approved video games, you know, and that's always a risk too. So there's lots of risks with this, but it is kind of interesting.
All I want to know is, Sybe, is if I can give the prompt, let me play Half-Life 3.
Right?
Will that work?
And we don't know yet. It's still in its very early like infancy, but it it is kind of like it is cool and it is there. And it's not exactly as it described. It's not just you just tell it, hey, make me play. It's
Mm.
like it's got some hooks to it, obviously.
Right, yeah, yeah.
But it's very interesting, and I thought it was really funny because it was the one of the most laziest companies in video gaming that it was so lazy that they had the Star Wars franchise for a decade, and they made one game.
Well,
Like
technically
talk
2,
about
but, you know.
yeah, well, I guess technically it was 3, but still, it's like wow, they're so lazy that they managed to create something that just does their job for them. So that's horrifying and scary in its own ways. And there's a whole bunch of things that can go wrong with it, but we'll see how that goes. And then, as a reference, um, uh, Blizzard also fired, Microsoft fired a lot of people in Activision and Blizzard again. They came out and said, "Hey, we only fired 3% of our staff, guys. It's just 3%." Oh, you mean like, that's like 3,000 people? Yeah, yeah, we got rid of like 3,000 people. So yeah, they hit them again. I wonder if it has anything to do with the fact that they've unionized recently.
Hmm.
Strange. So that's that. Again, two short kind of stories here where it's like we saw this coming. We know was going to be here. We're seeing more of this kind of stuff. Apparently, ArcLight Rumble, which is the mobile WoW game that they came out with, um, apparently it's on the chopping block now. And I've got to say that I think like Blizzard was not good at making mobile games. Like somehow Bethesda did a really great version of theirs, but somehow Blizzard just doesn't understand how to make this a mobile game actually really really good. It's like as far as gameplay mechanics, it's like low mid tier because I don't know if you've played any of these like, a Honkai Star Rail,
Hmm.
but holy crap, that's a mobile game. And in some cases it wasn't exactly the same, but it's like, yeah, there's about the same amount of effort going into this kind of stuff where it's like the West just doesn't know how to do it properly. So yeah, frightful and crazy, but interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, it's hopefully like at some point all these firings have been going on at Microsoft will begin to cease because after all they do need people to support the major franchises that they do have going. They still need people supporting World of Warcraft, Overwatch, Diablo. Well, I don't even know what the hell's going on with Diablo.
Mm.
I mean, it was still the fastest selling game ever, so that must amount to something, even if people aren't generally happy with the game. Yeah, we'll keep our eye on it, but yeah, it's just another example of just people being out of touch with, like, big gaming corporations being out of touch. Yeah, do we want to move on to? Yeah, let's go back to something positive. I think there's something positive you wanted to share with Baldur's Gate 3.
The Baldur's Gate 3 has done one of the greatest goodbye things. This patch 7 has come out. Excuse me. Sorry, dying here. Um, patch 7 is out. I think it's basically kind of their more or less the last major patch for the game. And with it came a tooltip for like helping modders make mods and like get them into the game. It wasn't supposed to do very much, but a few modders went in, basically flipped some switches, and it became an entire game editor.
Really?
Now, yeah. Now, Larian has said absolutely nothing about this. They actually have a ban on anybody talking about it in the official forums.
Hmm.
But I think I think what we're seeing is we're seeing behind the curtain with this. We wondered why when they were working on the game, they said we're going to make a level editor where you're going to be able to create, host, and build your own D&D campaigns.
Oh, so cool.
And that was
Such a
so
cool idea.
exciting until they said, "Oh, no, we're not doing that anymore." And everybody said, "Why aren't you doing that anymore?" And they said, "Oh, well, we're just not doing it anymore." And then right after that, they said, "Oh, yeah, and by the way, we're not making any expansions, and Wizards of the Coast have asked us to move on."
Hmm. Yeah. So,
So
sorry, what is happening? Like, patch 7 came out and we sort of got an inadvertent level editor? Is that what I'm...
so we got an official editor
Oh, okay.
that did basic stuff, but the modders went into the editor and flipped some switches, and it opened up the entire tool for you to create everything.
Oh my god. Oh my
So now
god.
you can go out and create new maps, new zones, new stories, new quests, new characters.
And what are they going to do? Is Wizards of the Coast and Larian going to do anything about that, or are they just going to let it happen? Please.
Larian saying, "Oh, oopsie. Well, we're busy doing this other stuff, so we're not going to touch it. It's out there now."
Oh, God bless those beautiful humans over at Larian. Jeez, dude, that
And
Baldur's Gate.
and
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro not too happy about this because now players literally have the tool that essentially made Baldur's Gate 3, and that is far more like you can just start to people are already importing new maps, new locations, they're already putting in new characters.
Mm.
That was something you couldn't do before. You couldn't just create a new companion character and throw it in the game. Now you can.
Right.
You couldn't create a new map with your own story and then have you and your multiplayer friends go in and then you basically DM the experience, but now you can.
Mm-hmm.
So this is
Huge.
This is absolutely huge, and yeah, Wizards of the Coast not necessarily happy because they were going to try and sell you on an app that did well. It didn't let you do any of those things nearly as cool, but hey, it gave them a lot of money. So
Mm-hmm.
so yeah,
Side. So we had one of the most content-rich, technically sophisticated games come out last year in Baldur's Gate 3, a game that easily people are going to be playing in the at least the tens of thousands for the next decade or so. This just instantly gave it an extra 5 years at least of that type of
no,
longevity.
it gave it so much more. With this tool, you can literally create your own game. You can literally create your own game and essentially launch it for yourself. This is basically we're looking at basically like being able to do what people were able to do with Skyrim.
Yeah, that's
And
exactly
people
it.
made entire new games like Skyrim, Fallout. I mean, Fallout London just came out, right? Like it's literally just like, oh, here's the infinite ability to do whatever you want with Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
And make your own adventures. I am so pumped for this. It's not the perfect option, but hey, modders are faster and more adept and will be able to make more mods and more changes and more tweaks to this, which will allow people to create their own stuff. Hallelujah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Man, and it just makes me so sad that I kind of missed the boat a little bit with Baldur's Gate 3. I did play a decent amount of it on the PS5 with my wife, but we sort of abandoned it for a while. We need to get back to it because holy crap, that game is just off the chain amazing, and being able to enhance the experience for the next 10 or so years in a way that Skyrim, like you said, with mods, is just going to make this game an all-time like top 10 great. I imagine if it like the modders full like live up to the potential of what this could do. Yeah.
Oh yeah. This is our like I'm already like Mooney. Do you want to make a character for Baldur's Gate? It's gonna be great. So yeah.
Mhm.
We're already I'm already looking at it, coming up with some ideas. Maybe I'll brush off my old modding cape.
Nice. Yes, that would be awesome. All right, let's that's wonderful news. So let's move on to the last few pieces of news here. Well, actually, just the last two. Not like it's not a bad negative story. From a certain point of view, it's a positive story. So Annapurna Interactive, they are a publisher of various video games, publishing some of the greatest games that have come out in the last 7 or 8 years. I think the first game they ever published was What Remains of Edith Finch. That is a treasure of a game. I highly recommend anybody that wants like a quick 90 to 120 minute experience with the game to pick that up. It's wonderful, wonderfully well written. But they've also published games like The Outer Wilds, which you could say is probably one of the top 50 games ever made. Like some of the most progressive game design I've ever seen. They came out with Stray recently. That's the game with the cat. Neon White, Cocoon, that was the indie game that a whole bunch of people loved. That came out last year, won several awards. So yeah, and just among a whole bunch of other similar games where it's like they're trying to publish games that have something really, really unique about them, something that you're not really seeing in any other games that are coming out, and building their identity off of that. Here's the thing, though. The team at Annapurna Interactive was made up of about 25 people, and from what we were been able to glean, I think it was Jason Schreier that posted the news story surrounding this. They had been wanting to spin off into their own independent company, separate from Annapurna Interactive, but weren't able to, for obvious rights reasons. Megan Ellison, the owner and founder of Annapurna, both Annapurna Interactive as well as Annapurna's film division, she was in negotiations with the publishing team at Annapurna Interactive to try and keep them on, the people at the team. And they had leverage because, well, they've done such great work and it's a small team and they've done so much. So they were trying to keep them there, but they wanted to go off and do their independent thing. Thing is, though, negotiations fell apart and everybody at Annapurna Interactive's publishing team resigned. So now there's nobody that's working there. Now, this could be on the surface could sound like cause for worry. So the one thing that actually made me worry about this when I first heard about it was something that we talked about 2 or 3 weeks ago on the podcast side when we were talking about how the guys over at Remedy, the people behind Alan Wake and Control and Max Payne, they had gotten into a deal with Annapurna to finance Control 2 along with multimedia like TV shows and other stuff like that surrounding the Alan Wake and Control IPs. Thank God this mass resignation has no effect on that, because apparently the deal that Remedy made with Annapurna was with Annapurna Pictures, not with Annapurna Interactive. So I suppose, to take an optimistic view on this, it's 25 creative people who worked really, really well together saying, well, if you're not going to give us what we want, if we can't work together, we're going to take our business elsewhere. And I hope that because of what they were able to do, they can continue to pursue what they were doing originally, but independently with all, rights afforded to them. Does that seem like a reasonable take on the situation, Saib?
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay.
Yeah. I hope things get sorted there because I just hope things get sorted there.
Yeah. I love their games, and guys, if they're sort of like I like Young Yaz take on this. He said they're sort of like the A24 of gaming, where like A24 publishes a whole bunch of like movies that are sort of really outside of the box and really giving people something that they didn't know that they wanted. I'd really recommend, checking out games like Outer Wilds, games like What Remains of Edith Finch. They're absolutely wonderful. And I hope that anybody who sort of keeps their ear to the ground in regards to gaming follows what these people go and do next so that we can support them in their endeavors there. Yeah. Anyway, final story. When the hell is Dragon Age coming out?
Not too long. I think it's like literally supposed to be out next week or something like that.
Are you kidding me? Wow. I thought it was coming out in November or something. Yeah, Dragon Age. What the hell's it called? The Veilguard release date?
The Veilguard, yeah.
Oh, October 31st.
Yeah.
Huh,
Sorry,
okay.
not next. I thought we were already in October.
I mean, it feels like some like.
I mean, we're getting close.
Fast.
It's 10 days away. So yeah, 40 days. We got about 40 days before it's out. The reviews are out. The NDA has dropped 4 reviews. A ton of reviews have come out.
Well, not reviews, but previews. right?
Sorry, yeah, not reviews. They didn't review the whole game. They reviewed a lot of the initial game. So it was basically, I think they had a time limit, but some people, sped through certain areas and got further in advance. It's like they skipped all of the first like 3 hours of quests. They just skipped those immediately. And then they were able to push into further content because we have a lot of content that has been unveiled once you take all of the people who have reviewed stuff and put it all together.
Yeah.
So like the first basically the first like 6 hours of gameplay have been mined pretty effectively by all of the people who managed to get their hands on this. And I
Nice.
will say kudos to BioWare for putting this out early. This is very welcome that they have done this so far out in advance. Congratulations. I will also congratulate them on what seems to be the fairly robust character creator. Um,
Hmm.
as I have always said, I just want more character creation. That is, give me the ability to create as whatever I want, period. Stop limiting my choices unless you're telling a very, very, very finite story, which I literally think that's like God of War, and that's about it. Sorry, like there's literally like I think almost every game, every Assassin's Creed game could have had a character creator. Would have made the game better in every way, shape, or form. Every single like fantasy story literally could just give us a character creator. Um I really don't think that it's a bad thing. I literally think that it's a good thing. So I will give them kudos for that. However, the reviews past this are not looking good. Are really not looking good. It's kind of all over the place. Some people are really in favor of it. Other people are really negative of it.
Hmm.
There seems to be quite the mix of what people are feeling about the game, what they're doing, what they're seeing, that kind of stuff. And then yeah. So I honestly don't know where we're at. I have no idea. I didn't get an invite. I didn't ask because I kind of wrote off the series for the last like 3 years. I kind of just all the stuff that had been happening with BioWare and
Yeah.
EA. I was just like, this is just garbage. I'm not even gonna involve myself. Um, I think it would be smart of them to put out a character creator for just public. Everybody could just download it and start working on their characters. I think that would be a good sign, that because then you could just make whatever you wanted, and you'd have the ability to just do that, and everybody report on that and whatnot, and it would be good. Um, but overall, I'm not a fan of where they're taking the story. I thought that Solus's character was just like it's like it stole the thunder of all of the other characters and then has replaced them with this like, I'm a villain now and you were so dumb you thought I was your friend. I hate that. I hate that. Like like if you're going to do that, you got to lead up to it
Yeah, you
for a
gotta earn it.
long time.
Yeah.
You got to earn it. You can't just be like, "Ha ha." And then like, oh yeah, I did kill off a whole bunch of characters, but we could be buddies again, right? Like that mentality just, oh my god, I hate that
It's
writing.
bad
It's so
writing.
bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad writing. So again, I don't know if they're going to redeem the story in their eyes. I'm not going to criticize them over like it's their story. They can do whatever they want with it. I'm not like I may not be interested in playing it if some of my favorite characters have been killed off. Like you get to kind of a point, and whenever you're reading the Game of Thrones stuff, it's like sometimes you just like, okay, I'm done. Well, all the characters that I was interested in are now dead, and the rest of them look like they're going to die very shortly. So
Mm.
like just kind of move on, right? Like that's kind of how I felt about this for a long time. But just overall, I don't like the gameplay that they're going, and that's where a lot of negativity is coming from. It's not
Yeah,
just
I've heard
the
about
story;
that.
it's the gameplay is like, man, this started out as a D&D replacement.
Hmm.
And now it has moved into what most people have called
Generic.
just basically like a mobile like auto player essentially.
Hmm.
Like that's the
Can't
worst
be.
review I saw. Was like
Really?
yeah, it was like, this feels like I'm playing a mobile game that basically plays on wheels, and one of the people that I know played it. This wasn't public, but so I'll keep my mouth shut on who said it, but he's like, I wanted to see if it actually required skill.
Hmm.
So I just rolled my thumb in a clockwise position over the 4 buttons and on hard mode, and you won. So yeah, that's not good.
It's really. God, I'm having a hard time like believing it's that bad.
Well, I mean, again, it's like we'll have to see, because they are 40 days away. They can do a lot of tweaks in 40 days to combat. There's a lot of ways that you can tweak combat. You can make it harder, you can make it easier, you can make it more strategic. There's a lot of stuff that you can do that that could really improve the overall gameplay.
Yeah, and even
And
slight bounces after the game releases with patches.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I won't judge it until it's actually released, but I'm not hopeful for this game at the moment. And I really worry about BioWare. I've been worrying about it for a long time, but basically everybody who was there during the Age of the Doctors are all gone now.
Yeah.
Like basically everybody. There's a handful of people that were like from the old guard still hanging around. Other than that, it's been replaced. It's been replaced by people who play mobile games, and that's basically all they play.
Yeah.
So that's disturbing. So yeah, we'll see where that goes, because it's not looking good.
Yeah. What was like the last truly good BioWare game? Was it Mass Effect 3 or was it one of the Dragon Age games?
No, Mass Effect 3 was really good.
No, I'm saying like, what was the last
yeah,
good one?
yeah. Now a lot of people say Inquisition was good. I really I played Inquisition. I thought it was okay, and it got better, but the fact that you had to shell out so much money for the expansion and all the other stuff, it was like, I don't really like that. But it like Anthem broke BioWare for me in my mind. Anthem was so bad, Andromeda was so bad, that that it was one right after the other. It was like, hey, Andromeda is going to be the best game you've ever played. And then it was like, one of the worst games I've ever played. And then they said, oh, okay, Anthem's going to do it. Anthem's going to be good. Just wait for Anthem. It's going to be the best thing ever. And it was one of the worst excuses for a published product that I had ever seen, ever.
And the thing is, the concept of Anthem could have been so cool, man. It could have been so cool.
Iron Man Simulator. It's like, how hard do you have, like, how hard were you trying to be bad at your job?
Yeah.
Take Iron Man Simulator and make it feel like absolute garbage. And I tried with that game. I literally tried. And I thought that, the negativity was like, I was always like, it's going to get good in the next, around the corner. It's an MMO. And MMOs are like that. Unfortunately, there's a lot of times where people like, oh, the game starts at endgame. It's like, no, it doesn't. No, it's the journey that's supposed to be fun. But I was trapped in that mindset of like, oh, it's just around the corner. It's just around the corner.
Because it's BioWare.
Then I got to the end of the game and I was like, oh, this is it. This is all the game is. There's nothing, there's no surprise, there's no hook, there's no surprise. Like, oh, okay, right. Gotcha. It's like playing Mass Effect and you're on the first world and you're like, wow, this is so cool. And then that's the end of the game. It's like, oh, Well, this was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at this list right now. Yeah, the Dragon Age Inquisition was 2014. And if you didn't like that, then the last good game was Mass Effect 3, which was 2012. So 10 or 12 years. And yeah, this will be the death knell if it comes out and people aren't happy with it. Well, I don't know. Maybe they'll still put out Mass Effect and maybe it'll be great, but okay. Anyway, I'm not even gonna go there. I'm tired. I'm tired of all the negativity. I need to go and sleep because I've been up like for the past 20 hours.
Alrighty.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, for this episode of Maximum News. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you leave a comment if you have any thoughts on any or all the stuff that Syb and I talked about, whether you agree or disagree. We do want to hear from you. Just try to keep it civil in the comment section. Syb, thanks as always for doing this with me, man. Do you have anything you want to say before we're done?
We're working on stuff. Life is throwing curveballs, but we're working on stuff, and we'll have more stuff in the future.
Nice.
Stay tuned.
And you guys can find me on my main personal channel at Max Derrat. I'll put a link to that in the description box. By the time this goes live, I'll probably have done my stream. I'm streaming Silent Hill 2, the original Silent Hill 2, on my YouTube channel. I'm just doing it sort of as prep before Silent Hill 2 Remake comes out in a couple of weeks, just to refamiliarize myself with the game. So if you want to come hang out and say hello, chat about stuff, share manly stories, whatever, we can do so. I'll be streaming at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, September 21st. If not, you can catch the VOD after. All right, guys, until we do this again next week, hopefully some more positive news. Although, yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 stuff was pretty good, but everything else, But yeah, hopefully next week we'll have even more positive news. Until then, I want to remind you guys, as always and as per usual, stay yellow.
Goodbye.